The chamber was vast enough to house a mountain. Silver pillars rose into clouds of mist, each carved with alien runes that pulsed faintly with bioelectric light. The air itself felt alive, humid, resonant, heavy with the scent of ozone and perfume meant to disguise the stench of fear. In the center stood 3 human women, wrists bound by luminous cords that glowed the same color as their breath in the cold air. Their hair, long, dark, unmistakably human, caught the light like woven fire. Around them, thousands of alien eyes gleamed from every tier of the amphitheater. The crowd hummed like machinery, predator and spectator at once. The Emperor of the Galactic Dominion lounged upon a throne grown from coral and metal, his voice dripping amusement. Behold, the species that would call themselves civilized. His mandibles clicked as laughter rippled through the hall. Even now they preen, they cling to the animal vanity of their hair. The youngest woman, barely 20, tilted her chin upward. Her eyes, gray and calm, met the Emperor's without flinching. "Funny thing about animals," she said softly. "They tend to bite when cornered." Her words vanished beneath the roar of alien laughter. A priest with too many arms approached, carrying a blade thin as light itself. The weapon sang a soft metallic hymn as it cut through the air. "This ceremony," he declared, "marks the end of Earth's arrogance. We take what they value most, their pride, their beauty, their identity." The oldest of the 3, perhaps 25, gave a quiet smile that did not reach her eyes. "You should have asked first," she murmured. A ripple of confusion spread through the attendants. Translator drones word, trying to decode the tone. The alien beside the Emperor hissed, "She mocks you, Majesty." The Emperor waved lazily. "Let them mock. They will scream soon enough." The priest seized a fistful of hair, lifting it high for the crowd to see. The audience leaned forward, eager, cruel. But as the first blade passed through, no scream came. Only a slow exhale, steady as the pull of gravity. The second woman, about 22, whispered something under her breath. 3 words that only her companions could hear. The youngest nodded once. The oldest closed her eyes. On the grand screen behind them, a translation flickered. "Mark the coordinates." None of the aliens understood. They saw defiance and called it delusion. They didn't see the pulse of light traveling down the women's collars, nor the microbeacons activating deep within the skin of their necks. The priest finished his work and presented the severed locks upon a silver tray. The crowd erupted in a rhythmic chant. Purity, order, dominion. The Emperor raised his chalice. "Let all who watch across the stars know, humanity is tamed." Cameras spun, broadcasting the humiliation to every world within the Dominion. In orbit, massive stations beamed the feed outward, across trade routes, to military outposts, even to the shadowed edge of the Soul Relay Network. On Earth, millions watched in silence. Not a word was spoken. Governments issued no statements. Armies did not mobilize. The only reaction was a single message from a nondescript diplomat at the United Terran Embassy. Noted. The aliens mistook that silence for surrender. Back in the amphitheater, the women were unbound. They were expected to fall, to weep, to crawl. Instead, they straightened. One brushed her hand across her cropped hair, feeling the stubble with quiet fascination. "Light," she said. "Feels strange." The crowd jeered. Someone threw a fruit that burst against the stage, splattering blue pulp against her cheek. The youngest wiped it away and laughed, a small, bright sound that made even the Emperor pause. "You find this funny?" he demanded. "A bit," she replied. "You just don't know what you've done." Security drones buzzed closer, their weapons trained, but she made no move to resist. The other 2 stood beside her like statues carved of iron and resolve. Their silence was worse than defiance. It was patience. A general approached the throne, uneasy. "Majesty," he whispered, "perhaps the humans should be executed before the broadcast ends." The Emperor smirked. "And end the entertainment so soon? Let them live. Let them witness how easily we cut them down." The general's eyes flickered, a trace of worry, the kind that comes when instinct whispers louder than pride. He glanced once more at the women, then turned away, trying to quiet the chill crawling down his spine. Hours later, when the broadcast ended, the grand hall emptied. The laughter faded. The floor was cleaned of hair and fruit and blood. Only the echo remained, trapped in the high arches like a ghost refusing to leave. In the silence, the youngest woman turned to the others. "It's done," she said. The oldest nodded. "Then they'll come." Outside the city's shielded dome, in the pale blue of dawn, 3 small satellites blinked awake. They had been dormant relics, disguised as debris orbiting the Dominion capital. Now they hummed with new purpose, linking through invisible frequencies across light years. Deep within a hidden bunker beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Nathan Cole watched his console light up. 3 signals, 3 coordinates, 3 names. He set down his coffee and sighed. "Well," he muttered, "guess the haircut's done." His aide stared. "Sir." Cole smiled faintly, though his eyes were cold. "You ever notice how quiet a woman gets when she's planning payback? Multiply that by 8 billion. Across the Dominion's core systems, comm stations flickered. Power grids stuttered. Tiny, inexplicable malfunctions began to ripple outward like nervous tremors. The Empire's analysts dismissed them as coincidences. By nightfall, every human listening post in the outer colonies had received the same encrypted phrase. Asterisk, 3 strands cut. 3 storms rising. Asterisk. In the Emperor's palace, the severed hair had been placed in a crystalline display beside the throne. It glowed faintly, as if absorbing the ambient light. The Emperor passed it often, never noticing the microscopic veins of circuitry woven into each strand. Barely visible, almost organic. When darkness settled over the capital, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Somewhere deep beneath the throne room, hidden servers connected to forbidden frequencies. A faint signal pulsed through the planet's crust. 3 beats, spaced like a heartbeat. Far away, Admiral Cole opened a comm channel to an unlisted frequency. "Medusa Network," he said quietly. "You're clear to wake." The line crackled. A woman's voice, familiar and calm, answered, "Acknowledged. Coordinates received." Cole leaned back in his chair, the glow of the monitors washing his face in ghostly blue. He poured himself another cup of coffee. "Then let's give the galaxy a haircut they won't forget." Somewhere in the black sea between stars, engines rumbled to life, silent, unseen, and very, very human. And in the Emperor's great hall, where hair once fell in humiliation, the floor began to vibrate ever so slightly, like the breath before a storm. The galaxy had grown strangely quiet, not the kind of quiet born from peace, but the kind that trembles before an oncoming storm. Trade routes buzzed with gossip. Humanity had not responded. No threats, no movements, no grand speeches. Just silence. The Dominion's news feeds replayed the ceremony endlessly, delighting in its humiliation. Yet with every replay, every jeer, something about that stillness began to unnerve even the cruelest of spectators. In a floating embassy orbiting the mid-rim world of Hardell, Admiral Nathan Cole stood before a massive window, sipping from a battered steel mug that had "World's Okayest Dad" etched into it. Below him stretched the city lights of a billion smug citizens who believed the matter settled. He adjusted his uniform collar, smiled faintly at his reflection, and muttered, "They always mistake manners for mercy." Behind him, the alien aide, a tall insectoid with translucent skin, clicked uncertainly. "Admiral Cole, the Council expects a statement regarding the incident." "Ah, yes," Cole replied, still watching the stars. "Tell them Earth is deeply disappointed and will be sending flowers." The aide blinked both sets of eyelids. "Flowers. Symbolic gesture," Cole said, turning, grin widening. "We're a sentimental species." The aide bowed, unsure if it was being mocked. When it left, Cole's smile faded. He poured another measure of dark coffee, fingers tapping the rim in slow rhythm. 3 taps, pause, 3 again. The same rhythm that now pulsed through encrypted channels across human outposts. No one said it aloud, but every soldier, every operator who heard it knew what it meant. Stand by. Across the Dominion, minor anomalies began to appear. Nothing overt. Navigation satellites blinked out for minutes at a time. Supply droids began misdelivering cargo. One crate of alien luxury wine arriving instead at a Terran relief outpost on Mars. The official response labeled it software corruption. Engineers didn't argue. They just kept fixing what kept breaking. At the Imperial Academy, cadets joked about haircut diplomacy. In underground forums, memes of the Emperor holding a pair of scissors circulated with human captions like asterisk, "Good luck explaining this to your gods." Asterisk, the humor made the aliens laugh at first. But then the memes kept appearing, even on networks isolated from human access. Someone was planting them, perfectly timed, perfectly local. Cole began his visit soon after, polite, brief, and impossibly unnerving. He'd arrive at alien embassies with a box of coffee beans or a bag of Earth sweets, smiling that disarming human smile. "Just checking in," he'd say, as if the galaxy weren't holding its breath. During one such meeting, a reptilian governor sneered, "Your kind has no sense of honor. You let your women be shamed, and yet you bring candy." Cole nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, well, we have a saying back home, revenge is like coffee. Best served when the other guy's asleep." The translator lagged by a second, but when the meaning landed, the room fell silent. He left them all that way, unsettled, uncertain whether they'd been threatened or teased. That was his art. Every meeting ended with laughter that tasted a little like fear. Behind the scenes, human intelligence worked like a whispering tide. Colonies near the galactic rim went dark, but their energy signatures persisted. Mining drones began vanishing from corporate logs. Entire convoys rerouted themselves by error. The Dominion's admirals started requesting security reviews, which always returned clean. Too clean. Meanwhile, on Earth, the cities were dim at night. Power was being redirected somewhere no one could publicly acknowledge. Civilian chatter dwindled. The media maintained composure, but the calm was practiced, like a nation holding its breath during a heartbeat between strikes. Cole's assistant, Lieutenant Farrow, found him late one evening in the observation deck, replaying the alien broadcast. The three women stood still on the screen, hair falling like shadows. "You keep watching that, sir," Farrow said. "You think they're alive?" Cole didn't answer immediately. The light from the holoscreen traced sharp lines across his face, age, patience, weariness. "They're soldiers," he said finally. "If they're breathing, they're working. And if they're gone," he took a long sip of coffee, "then somebody's going to answer for every hair." Farrow nodded, uneasy. "Sir, with respect, the Council says restraint is our greatest weapon." Cole chuckled. "They always say that before they learn what we mean by restraint." Across the Dominion, patterns emerged. Alien linguists noticed the human diplomatic communiques contained subtle repetitions, phrases that, when strung together, formed coordinates. Merchant vessels carrying Terran grain shipments began making detours near those same points. The pattern was dismissed as coincidence. It always was, until it wasn't. 2 weeks after the ceremony, the Dominion's Grand Archive crashed. A virus, so elegant it seemed alive, wove through the data lattice, leaving every historical record slightly altered. Not destroyed, not corrupted. Altered. The word human was quietly replaced with apex. The damage was caught within hours, but by then every historian, every database, every cultural record had echoed it once. A linguistic ghost in the machine. Cole gave no interviews, offered no statements. He simply attended the Emperor's annual banquet, uninvited but smiling, holding a small transparent box. Inside it, 3 coffee beans. "A gift," he said pleasantly. "They survived fire, pressure, and time. Thought you might appreciate the metaphor." The Emperor regarded him coldly. "You think we fear your theatrics?" Cole shrugged. "I think you've never met anyone who knows how to smile while loading a gun." The guards shifted nervously, weapons half raised. Cole only smiled wider, took a slow sip from his mug, and walked out. The Emperor's cup cracked in his hand. Outside, the Dominion's communications grid flickered once. Lights dimmed across entire sectors. Ships reported gravitational anomalies near dead space. Still, no official declaration came from Earth. Only that endless, calculated silence. By the third week, the rumor became prophecy. Humans had vanished from the known systems. No traffic, no signals. Empty colonies, abandoned stations. Some thought the species had fled. Others whispered they'd gone underground, preparing something. The Dominion military debated a preemptive strike. But against what? There was nothing to hit. Only the silence. In the quiet, alien citizens began to dream. Shared dreams of oceans boiling, of voices whispering, of laughter echoing through dark space. Psychics reported spikes in collective anxiety centered around soul. The Dominion began censoring discussion of humans altogether. Fear spread not from what they did, but from what they didn't do. And through it all, Admiral Cole remained calm. He returned to Earth orbit, stood upon the deck of a silent carrier, and looked toward the blue planet below. "They still don't get it," he murmured. Pharaoh stood beside him. "Get what, sir?" Cole's gaze hardened. "That quiet isn't peace. It's patience." The monitors around them blinked. 3 dots of light aligning on a galactic map. A signal began to hum, low and steady. Pharaoh's breath caught. "Sir, are we?" Cole raised a hand, stopping her words. "Not yet." Below, the Earth turned slowly in the void. In the shadows of its orbit, thousands of vessels shimmered into partial view, camouflage fields rippling like oil on water. Cole smiled faintly, as if greeting an old friend. "Let them laugh one more day," he said. "Then we'll answer properly." Somewhere deep in the black, 3 faint pulses echoed through the void, soft, synchronized, unstoppable. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy went completely still. The first strike was so quiet it almost went unnoticed. A Dominion patrol ship drifted past a barren moon when, without explosion or warning, it simply dissolved, hull turning to vapor as if erased by thought. The captain never had time to shout. Across the sector, sensors failed, readings scrambled, and command assumed another malfunction. They didn't realize humanity had just flipped the switch. From orbit above Earth, Admiral Nathan Cole stood inside the command deck of the UNS Odyssey. The lights were low, the air tense, humming with restrained electricity. He stared at a holographic projection of the galaxy, dotted with red. "3 signals confirmed," said Lieutenant Pharaoh, voice tight. "All Medusa nodes are online." Cole didn't smile. "Then let's make history messy." The Medusa network, 3 planetary AIs, each born from the neural imprint of the captured human women, had been waiting for activation. Their minds stored as quantum architecture, guided fleets hidden beneath the crusts of moons and cloaked around gas giants. The aliens thought shaving their heads was humiliation. In truth, it was the key that unlocked their command. Each strand of hair had contained encoded nanofiber DNA sequences linking them to Medusa's neural gates. What the Dominion had cut loose was control. Cole sipped his coffee and murmured, "Begin Operation Hairline." The galaxy shuddered. 1,000 Dominion satellites blinked out, leaving entire sectors blind. Merchant fleets found themselves adrift, their navigation overridden. On the outer rim, a star mining platform folded in on itself, imploding without flame or sound. The humans had not fired a single bullet. They'd rewritten gravity. Reports flooded the Emperor's throne room, ships vanishing, defense arrays locking onto friendly targets, energy surges melting through databanks. The Emperor shouted, "Find the source." But every trace led back to his own systems. His capital's defense core glowed red with Earth's digital fingerprints. Cole's image appeared across Dominion military screens. A calm man in uniform, mug in hand. "Good evening," he said pleasantly. "Hope you're all awake now. We noticed you like cutting things that don't belong to you. Thought we'd return the favor." He lifted a strand of cropped human hair between his fingers, delicate, golden in the holographic light. 3 of these control everything that's about to happen next. Alien officers screamed as their ship's lights dimmed. Artificial gravity inverted. Crew floated midair, gasping. Outside, space rippled, gravity waves bending light like water. From those folds emerged the hidden human fleets. Lean, black vessels shaped like blades, silent and predatory. Cole turned to Pharaoh. "Status." Phase 2 complete, she said, awe and fear mixing in her voice. They're jamming their own transmissions, trying to stop us. Cole exhaled slowly. They'll understand soon enough. Inside the Emperor's war chamber, panic metastasized into chaos. One general barked orders to fire on the approaching human ships. Energy beams lanced across the void, brilliant and useless. The human vessels phased out before impact, leaving only ghost trails. A new broadcast overtook every channel in the Dominion. A young woman's voice, one of the humiliated prisoners. Calm, even amused. Asterisk, you told the galaxy you cut our pride. We told the galaxy we cut your leash. Asterisk. Her face appeared on every screen. Hair now buzz short, eyes glowing with faint circuitry. You wanted to show dominance? Congratulations. You've made yourself part of our demonstration. Explosions lit the night side of a dozen planets. Not nuclear, not chemical, gravitational collapses. Precision folds tearing enemy arsenals inward. Space rippled with color, beautiful and horrifying. The Dominion's admirals, who once saw humans as weak mammals, now watched their empire unravel to the rhythm of soft human laughter. Cole's command deck erupted with quiet efficiency. Officers coordinated in whispers, synchronized to his pacing words. We hold the line, never the grudge, he said, repeating the phrase every human soldier knew by heart. But beneath his calm exterior, something heavier stirred. He wasn't leading vengeance. He was executing inevitability. He remembered the youngest of the three operatives, barely 20, saluting before her capture, saying, "If they take me, let them think they've won." He'd promised her, "They'll never know what you gave them." Now they knew. In the Dominion capital, the Emperor ordered every ship to retreat toward homeworld defense. But as the fleets turned, the stars vanished. The Medusa satellites had shifted the system's magnetic axis, trapping them in gravitational cages. The Emperor slammed a clawed hand against the console. Monsters. Cole's face appeared on his screen again. Monsters, he echoed, as if pondering the word. You shaved 3 women. We're cutting 3 empires. Math seems fair. The Emperor hissed. You wouldn't dare annihilate billions. Cole tilted his head. We didn't. You did. We just gave your weapons a haircut. They're pointing inward now. Moments later, Dominion missile silos erupted from the ground, releasing payloads meant for enemies light years away, straight into their own orbital rings. The sky turned to molten glass. The Emperor fell silent. Pharaoh flinched as the reports came in. Collateral confirmed, sir. Civilians, too. Cole's hand tightened around his mug. War doesn't take attendance, Lieutenant. His tone softened. But we'll rebuild them when they stop lying. For a long moment, the Odyssey's bridge was silent except for the hum of engines and distant static from burning worlds. Cole stood at the viewport, watching galaxies bleed light into shadow. His face was unreadable. Admiral, Pharaoh whispered, what happens if they surrender? He smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. Then we teach them manners. A comm pinged, encrypted, familiar. He accepted. The hologram of the oldest operative shimmered before him. Short hair, catching the dim light. Medusa Prime reporting, she said. Phase 3 awaiting confirmation. Cole nodded. Any resistance? None worth mentioning, she replied, a ghost of a grin on her lips. They're starting to pray again. To us, I think. Good, Cole said softly. Then let's remind them gods aren't born, they're built. Across the Dominion's outer colonies, the Medusa network's final phase initiated. Massive EMP waves blanketed military sectors, shutting down weapons but leaving life support untouched. Humanity wasn't eradicating the empire. They were dissecting it, nerve by nerve. Broadcasts flared once more. A collage of human faces, farmers, engineers, children, filled alien screens. A narrator's calm voice spoke. We're not conquerors. We're consequence. Cole closed the transmission and turned away from the viewport. His officers stood at attention, awaiting orders. Send humanitarian vessels to the rim worlds, he said finally. And tell the diplomats to pack snacks. It's going to be a long apology tour. Pharaoh blinked. You're sending aid to them? He looked at her, eyes weary but sharp. We punish arrogance, not hunger. Outside, the void flickered with wreckage and rebirth, burning worlds and bright rescue ships rising side by side. The irony was biblical. Cole lowered his voice. Medusa will hold position. No further strikes without my order. The operative's voice came again through static. Understood. They're afraid, Nathan. You've made them afraid. He exhaled, almost regretfully. Fear was never the goal. Memory was. Static faded. The bridge lights dimmed. Humanity's war had lasted less than a day. The Empire's reign millennia, undone in hours. Cole poured the last of his coffee, the steam curling like smoke from the wreckage below. Funny, he murmured, how small a haircut can start a revolution. Pharaoh glanced toward the viewport. Sir, should I log the operation as complete? Cole hesitated. His eyes drifted to the far edge of the map, where new signals pulsed, faint, distant, deliberate. Not yet, he said. Someone's still listening. Outside, one of the dead worlds blinked once, its surface glowing like an ember reigniting. And from the silence of that world came a whisper through every human channel. Asterisk, Phase 4, ready when you are. Asterisk. The Dominion capital smoldered beneath twin suns, its once glittering towers bent like molten candles. The sky shimmered with the ghosts of burnt satellites. Yet amid the ruin, the imperial palace still stood, a black silhouette against an orange horizon, proud even in death. Inside, Emperor Seekal sat alone in his throne room, crown cracked, claws trembling around a goblet that no longer held wine. His generals were gone. His fleets were ash. The air reeked of ozone and disbelief. Outside the palace dome, the ground trembled with the arrival of human landing craft. They descended in eerie silence, cutting through the smoke like falling stars. The emperor had expected drums of conquest, banners, perhaps a declaration. Instead, only quiet engines and the faint hum of wind. From one of the ships stepped Admiral Nathan Cole, his boots crunching over the glassy sand that had once been marble. He carried no weapon, only a flask of coffee steaming against the cold. Seekal rose, voice breaking. So it's you, the polite ape who hides war in his smile. Cole inclined his head, expression calm. And you, the king who mistook cruelty for strength. He took a slow sip, gaze sweeping the ruined hall. Beautiful place. Shame about the ego. The emperor's mandibles clicked, the remnants of pride scraping against fear. You came to gloat? Cole's tone softened. I came to end it. From the shattered windows, they could see the horizon glowing red. Human ships hovered like iron halos. Across the world, drones descended carrying crates, not bombs, medicine, water, food. Alien civilians watched from the ruins, whispering prayers they no longer believed in. The invaders were rebuilding what they had destroyed. The contradiction was unbearable. Seekal's voice trembled. You annihilated our fleets, and now you feed our children. Cole turned to him, eyes weary but unwavering. That's how we fight. We break monsters, not people. The emperor laughed weakly, a sound more animal than regal. And yet you've made us afraid. Cole walked closer, each step deliberate. Good. Fear is the first step toward remembering respect. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence pressed between them, thick and solemn. Then the emperor's gaze flicked to the faint scars at Cole's temple, neural burns from the Medusa uplink. You merged your minds with those women, didn't you? The ones we humiliated. Cole's jaw tightened. Merged? No. They led. I listened. Seekal slumped against his throne. And what did they say? Cole's voice lowered. That the galaxy forgets too easily. So we reminded it. He extended a data crystal between two fingers. Inside this are your defense schematics, your trade routes, your colony's coordinates. We're returning them to you. The war's over. But if you ever touch a human again, we won't declare another war. The emperor frowned. Then what will you declare? Cole's answer came soft as smoke. Extinction. Outside, thunder rolled, not from weather, but from atmosphere re-entry. Thousands of Dominion worlds, watching the transmission, fell silent. The image of Cole standing in the Emperor's ruined hall was being broadcast to every sector, every outpost, every species that had laughed when the women's hair fell to the floor. They watched now unblinking. Pharaoh's voice crackled over Cole's earpiece. "Sir, the feed is stable. Whole galaxies tuned in." He nodded slightly. "Let them listen." The Emperor's breathing grew ragged. "You'll rule through terror, then?" "No," Cole said, setting his mug gently on the arm of the throne. "We'll rule through memory. Fear fades, but memory lingers." He looked to the horizon again, where human medics knelt beside alien children, where machines lifted debris while survivors stared in awe. "We're not what you thought," he said quietly. "We never were." Seakul's gaze hardened. "You think this makes you better than us?" Cole studied him for a long moment. "No, just older." The Emperor looked away, shoulders shaking. "You've unmade an empire." "Empires rebuild," Cole replied. "But people either learn or disappear." The wind howled through the broken palace, scattering ashes like confetti. Somewhere distant, a bell rang, a sound no one remembered installing. It tolled once, twice, then was swallowed by the wind. Sekul lifted his head. "What happens now?" Cole exhaled. "Now, we clean up your mess. Then we go home." He turned to leave, but the Emperor's voice stopped him. "Why? You could have taken it all. The throne, the worlds. Why spare us?" Cole paused at the doorway. "Because we're still human, and we remember what it's like to be broken." He stepped out into the light. Above, the sky opened in a vast display of color, ionized clouds glowing as rescue ships entered atmosphere. The hum of engines mingled with the distant cries of newborns and the hiss of rain. The galaxy, for the first time in centuries, was quiet not from dominance, but from awe. In orbit, the Odyssey hovered silently, its hull reflecting the light of burning suns. Inside, Lieutenant Pharaoh watched the live feed end. "They're calling it the Day of Fear," she said softly. "They'll tell stories about this for generations." Cole boarded the shuttle, lowering himself into the seat beside her. "Good. Let them. Stories are how we remember what we should never repeat." As the shuttle lifted, he gazed through the viewport at the broken world below. "We could have ended them," he said almost to himself. "But then we'd just become what we feared most." Pharaoh studied him carefully. "Do you regret it?" He smiled faintly, eyes distant. "Regret is for endings. This was a beginning." The comm pinged, encrypted human frequency. A voice came through, steady and familiar. It was one of the Medusa operatives. "Admiral," she said, "Phase 4 complete. All systems standing by for recall." "Stand down," Cole replied. "The mission's done." There was a pause, then her voice softened. "And the girls, sir?" "The ones they took." Cole looked at the glowing horizon below, where dawn rose through smoke. "They're free," he said quietly. "Every one of them." The transmission cut. The ship rose higher. Beneath them, the Dominion capital glimmered like a dying ember. And yet, somehow, it looked beautiful. In the depths of space, human beacons flared across the star map, each one marking a system once held by the Empire. Not as conquest, but as promise. Around them, new frequencies began to hum. Alien species sending cautious greetings, tentative peace offers. Fear was giving way to memory, and memory was giving birth to understanding. Cole leaned back, watching the stars unfold like lanterns. "Funny thing," he murmured. "They wanted to humiliate us, and instead, we made them remember what fear feels like." Pharaoh smiled, weary but proud. "What now, sir?" Cole set his empty mug on the console. "Now we remind them that fear's not the end of the story." As the Odyssey drifted toward the light of the nearest sun, the stars behind it dimmed for a heartbeat, then flared brighter, as if the galaxy itself had taken a deep breath. And for the first time in its long, arrogant history, it exhaled in silence.